Chapter 7. I couldn't sleep that night. Ma and Baba's raised voices kept me awake till late, and then I was tormented by frightening dreams. I woke in the middle of a nightmare and remembered at once that I'd promised to fetch Passem's phone out of its hiding place. My stomach clenched with fright. It was a Saturday, so there was no school, but I don't think Baba would have let us go even if it had been a weekday, as the funerals of those shot the day before would be taking place. Furious crowds would be sure to gather, and since the police had shot to kill at a quiet demonstration the day before, they'd probably go murderously wild with an excited mob. Musa was as edgy as I was, and I knew he was thinking about that stupid phone. There was nowhere in the flat where we could talk privately. Granny seemed to be sulking and hadn't come out of her room that she shared with her mum. Freud was playing a game which was noisy with toy cars in our bedroom. Musa was in the kitchen and Baba was stuck in front of the TV in the sitting room, watching endless news programmes. The only person who seemed cheerful was Iman. She had spread her books out on the little table in the corner of the sitting room and was buried in her homework, but she'd only been at it for a few minutes when Baba turned on her. "Why aren't you in the kitchen helping your mother?" he barked at her. "What's the point of all this study? If things go on like this, do you think I'm going to risk letting you go out to that school every day?" Iman looked up at him, shocked, her face flushed with anger. She opened her mouth to say something, thought better of it and shut it again. Even if she dared, there was never any point in arguing with Baba. She gathered up her books and went into the kitchen. It was Nadia who gave me my chance. She'd been grizzling all morning, and by midday she was lying listlessly on the sofa, her cheeks flushed, whimpering if anyone tried to move her. "Feel her forehead," Ma said to Baba, coming in from the kitchen to check on her for the 100th time. "She's burning up with fever. You'll have to go out and get her some medicine, Hamid." Before Baba could answer, I said quickly, "It's okay, Ma, I'll go." "Not you." She was still looking at Baba. "I don't want any of you kids going out there today." Baba hadn't moved his eyes from the TV screen. "Let him go, Layla. There's no trouble at this end of town. I'll go with Musa," said Omar, struggling to get to his feet. He had been watching the TV too, his forehead scored by a deep frown. I gave my head a little shake to put him off. He subsided reluctantly on the sofa again, frowning in frustration. "No." Ma's voice was sharp. "It's bad enough one of you being out there. I'm not letting you both go." She was looking pointedly at Baba as she spoke, but he didn't seem to take notice. My heart was pounding as I hurried up to the main road. The pharmacy was only a block away. I could be there almost at once, buy Nadia's medicine and be home in a few minutes. Then I thought the scorn I'd read in Musa's eyes. He'd find an excuse to go out himself, make a hash of getting the phone back, and get caught. I forced myself to turn the other way, and I keep going in a steady walk. A running boy would look suspicious. There was some traffic going up and down the main road, but not as much as usual. Many of the shops were shut, their metal shutters rolled down and padlocked, but the ones that were open made the street look different from yesterday. I had a moment of panic. Where was the entrance to the passageway where I'd hidden the phone? It was only when I saw a minaret in the distance that I realised I'd come too far. I stopped, then pretended to look in the window of a mobile phone shop before turning back. There! I recognised the place now. The bin that had been pulled halfway across. Yet yesterday wasn't there anymore. No wonder I hadn't seen the dark little entrance at first. I bolted into the passageway entrance and stood for a moment, waiting for my eyes to adjust to the jeep's shadow. There was the window. I crunched across the rubbish underfoot. The chair that I'd used to reach the steel the day before had gone. I had to jump up and feel along it, but my fingers only scraped on loosened bits of concrete. My heart sank. "You're such an idiot, Musa. It's been found. We'll all be in trouble now," I thought. I gathered myself for another jump. This time I caught hold with both hands and pulled my head up so that I could look along the sill. Yes, the phone was there, right in the back corner. I lunged for it and dropped back onto my feet with my hands, relief singing in my ears. I slipped into my pocket the phone and was at the entrance of the passageway when I heard a massive hand clapped itself round my arm. "Dirty kids," said a deep voice. "Haven't you got a toilet at home? I'm fed up with you stinking up that passageway." The man was huge and with a ferocious face and a jutting belly. "Sorry," I stammered. "I was desperate. He gave me a shove and sent me nearly spinning into the path of an oncoming taxi. "If I catch you again, you won't, I promise." I righted myself and dashed off, not stopping until I was round the corner. I had to stand still for a moment and lean against a wall till my pounding heart slowed down. I was so pleased with myself for getting the phone back that I was almost home before I remembered Nadia's medicine. I doubled back to the pharmacy. A crowd of people were waiting impatiently to be served. so that by the time I was finally running up the stairs and banging on our front door, more than an hour had passed. Ma wrenched the door open, with Musa close behind her. "Where have you been?" I put the packet of medicine in her hands and pushed past her. "Sorry, Ma. I had to wait for the pharmacy to open. There was a huge crowd. I couldn't get served." "Everyone's stocking up, I suppose," Ma said, calming down. "Who knows what's going to happen after all? You're a good boy, Omar." "See any trouble on the street?" Baba called out. He was still sitting in the same spot on the sofa. "No, it was quiet. Some of the shops were open." Musa gave me a warning look and I shut my mouth. There were only a couple of shops between our flat and the pharmacy. I'd nearly given myself away. Musa hobbled towards our tiny bedroom. I followed him. Floyd was lying on the floor, pushing a toy car around. "Out!" we said to him together. He sat up. His hair was sticking straight up on the top of his head. He looked like an indignant chicken. "Why, it's not fair. This is my room too." "Out," Musa said again. I took pity on Floyd. "I'll play with you later, I promise. We'll do a superhero game and you can be Batman." He trailed reluctantly towards the door. I shut it behind him and stood with my back against it. "Did you get it? Did anyone see you? Where is it?" Musa's questions came so fast that they were tying his tongue in knots. "Here you are." I pulled it out of my pocket and threw it on his bed. Behind me, the door handle rattled. "Omar, I want my digger." Musa hurriedly hid the phone under his pillow. "All right," I said, opening the door. "Come and get it. Then hop it, okay? Or no game." Floyd looked suspiciously from Musa to me. "You've got a secret, haven't you?" I fished his digger out from under his little bed and gave it to him. "Musa's helping me with my homework. Now buzz off." He went out of the room at last. Musa pulled the phone out from under his pillow. "I'm calling Bassem," he said, looking for the number. When it was ringing, he handed it to me. "You speak to him. No one ever understands me on the phone." Bassem answered the call at once. Before I could hear him speak, he said shortly, "You got it then?" "Yes." "Are you at home?" "Yes." "Good." And then the line went dead. "Charming," I said, throwing it back to Musa. "No, hello Omar, how are you doing? Just, are you at home?" Then he cut me off. Musa raised his eyebrows. "The government monitor calls. Stupid. The less time you're on the phone, the harder the call is to trace." "Oh, I didn't realise." He pulled up the good side of his face into a crooked grin. "Welcome to the world of underground politics, little brother. You've been great. You've struck a blow for freedom." I shuddered. "That's the last time, okay? Keep me out of it from now on." Musa was cradling the phone in his good hand. I eyed it with suspicion. "What are you going to do with it?" "Bassem or Latif will come and pick it up." "When?" "As soon as they can, I expect." Now that I knew the thing was on the way out of the flat, I felt a stab of curiosity. "I hope you pressed all the right buttons and actually filmed all the stuff," I said. He smirked. "You want to look, don't you?" "No. Why should I?" He started to swipe the screen. "Come on, let's see." I couldn't resist, but as I moved away from the door towards his bed, it opened behind me. A man put her head into the room. "Ma says," she began. "Why can't you knock before you come in here?" I interrupted crossly, moving swiftly to block her view. "How do you know we weren't changing or something?" "Sorry, no need to get ratty. Ma says come and eat." She withdrew. Musa had stuffed the phone back under his pillow. He shook his head at me. Later, he said softly, in the sitting room, Ma had laid a cloth on the floor as usual, and we sat down on Granny's plump cushions around the steaming dishes. The smell of the food was so delicious that I forgot everything except how hungry I was. Nobody said as much as we ate. I was too busy anyway, enjoying the food. Ma had done my favourite, lamb meatballs, and there were her own home-picked aubergines as well. She brought her own massive stock from Bosra. Granny was sitting opposite me, her back against a large cushion. For once she was eating greedily. She sat back at last and said, "That was nice, Layla." We all looked at her in surprise. "Thank you, Hamid," said Ma. Hamid, meaning Hamid's mother, was Granny's formal name, and Ma never called her anything else. She wiped her mouth to hide her triumphant smile. The meal was over. Musa and I went back to our room. "What's got into Granny?" I asked Musa. He laughed. She was yelling down the phone at Auntie Madge's behalf this morning. "I reckon Ma's her favourite now." Floyd came into the room. "You've got to play with me now, Omar. You promised." I don't want to admit it, but sometimes I really liked playing with Laird. And after all the tensions of the last 2 days, it was great to behave like a 5-year-old again, pretending to shoot at each other, diving onto our beds and making silly noises. I was just beginning to get tired of it when Ma called out, "A friend's come to see you, Musa." Musa had been lying on his bed watching us. He shot me a look. Floyd ran out to see who was there. Musa pulled the phone out from under his pillow and levered himself off the bed. He quickly looked around the room and snatched out one of my old Majid comics. He slipped the phone inside it. "Hey," I objected. "I haven't finished reading that one yet." "He'll give it back, Musa," he said shortly. "You'd better hand it over. If my hands go funny, the phone might drop out." Latif was perched on the edge of a chair opposite the sofa, listening politely to Baba. He looked smart with his crisp white shirt and orange-black hair. "You're right, Abu Musa," he was saying earnestly. "The situation is very serious. Who knows where it will end?" "The government hasn't got any choice," Baba said in his sharp, bossy way. "A strong response, that's what's needed." Beside me, Musa was making a face, rolling his eyes and pulling down the corners of his mouth. Latif looked up and caught his eye. I could see he wanted to laugh, but he pulled himself together and nodded meekly at Baba. "Hypocrite," I thought. Granny and Ma came out the kitchen, and Latif jumped into his feet. "How are you, Uncle Hamid?" he said to Granny in a low, caring voice. "I hope you didn't suffer any." His voice petered out. "Are you the boy who carried Nadia all the way home?" said Ma, picking up Nadia, who'd been clinging up to her skirt and peeping shyly at Latif. "I'm so grateful. And looking after Hamid too." She turned round and called out over her shoulder, "Aman, bring coffee and the honey cakes." Granny hadn't said a word. She was staring inquisitively at Latif with her bird-bright eyes. Her heart skipped a beat. What if she suspected something? What if she told Baba? After a moment she smiled, and I saw with relief that Latif's respectful manner, his brushed hair and his nice clothes reassured her. She went into the kitchen, and through the half-open door I could hear her chivying Iman. Latif threw a glance at Musa. "Thank you, Musa, but I can't say," he said. "I just wanted to find out how Nadia was, and he's come to borrow this magazine," interrupted Musa quickly. He gave me a nudge in the back. So under the eyes of half of my family, I had to edge round the sofa and hand over to Latif something that might as well have been an unexploded bomb wrapped in my magazine. Latif nearly bungled it. He took hold of the bundle the wrong way, and I felt the phone slip inside the folded paper. I snatched it back. "I'll put it in the bag for you," I said hastily. By the time the thing was tucked inside the bag, he dropped by the door. My hands were clammy, and I was longing for him to go. I never got to watch Musa's film after all.